Hello there, in this video we're going to be looking at the basics of editing a video in Photoshop and the advantages it gives us in terms of the array of available tools in Photoshop that can be applied to our video projects. Now, we don't normally think of Photoshop as being a video editing tool. We're much more inclined to lean towards things like Premiere Pro from Adobe, Adobe After Effects for creating special effects and things for video, Final Cut Pro, which is Apple's professional video editing application, and also iMovie, which is much more of a consumer beginner-based piece of software. Now there's lots of other free video editing applications which you can use as well. They all work in a very, very similar way, but I think overlooking Photoshop is unfortunate because you can do such a lot with it and it's very, very simple to use. Now, it's simple because in terms of video editing, it's kind of squished in there with all the image editing aspects of Photoshop, but it does enough for the majority of projects. So without further ado, let's get going. So I'm just going to create a new file. First things first, we're going to choose one of these settings up here. Now you can see over here we've got photo, print, art and illustration, and then we've got web, mobile and film and video. And the thing that differentiates these is really how they measure things. These three measure in physical units like millimeters or centimeters or even inches, things that you can actually say, this is how big a centimeter is, this is how big a millimeter is. Over here, we're measuring in pixels. Pixels, they're much harder to get a grip of because they are so variable, but they do tell us a lot when it comes to screens. So if we know exactly how many pixels a screen has, we can make a document or a video that will fit the number of pixels on a screen absolutely perfectly. Now, for reasons that will become apparent a little later, I'm going to make my document, first of all, I'm going to change the orientation, first of all. So I'm going to make it tall, and so the width of my document is going to be 1442 pixels, and I'm going to make it 2210 pixels. I'm leaving the resolution at 72 pixels per inch. My color mode is staying in RGB because we are designing for screens, so we're dealing in light, red, green and blue light. CMYK has no place here. I don't need my color depth to be any greater than 8-bit, which is just fine. And I'm not going to add a color profile at this stage. And also I need to keep my pixels square. So once I've got all that, I can just click OK. And this is going to be the size of my project. Okay. Now at the moment, you can see my workspace is the essentials for Photoshop. You can see all my tools down the side, you can see my panels over here, but there's nowhere to control motion. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create a new workspace. So first things first, we're going to go to Window and Workspace, and I'm going to change my workspace to Motion. And you can see pretty much everything remains the same. The only thing that has changed is we have this panel down here. Now this is where our timeline is going to be, and you can see there's a button in the middle here that says create video timeline. There's a little drop down that says you can also create a frame animation. To be perfectly frank, I do frame animation stuff, but I also use the video timeline for that too. It's just my preference. So all we need to do is click create video timeline. And you can see now that we've got some other controls that have popped up. We've got our playback controls, and you can also see some layers over here, which is weird. It says layer 0, but where's that information coming from? Well, it's coming from the layers panel, and you can see I've just got the one layer. It's called layer 0, and it's got this white background on it. So you can see that's what we've got over here, and you can also see it here. And there's also an audio track, and you can see we've got our play button, and we can go back to a previous frame, or we can go back to the first frame, or we can go on to the next frame, and so on. We've also got the ability to change the resolution to 50% or 100%, 25%. Now for the time being, I'm going to set the resolution to 50% because it makes working a little bit quicker. I might even take it down to 50% because if things are running very slowly, it's kind of hard to see what's going on. We've got this little tool here as well. These are, it looks like a pair of scissors. This will split your video clip wherever the playhead is. Now we'll talk about the playhead in just a second. You can see here that this is the little strip of video. Now this is the timeline, but at the moment it's kind of very squished up, and we can extend that out. Now I'm not extending time here. Everything is remaining the same. I'm just looking at it differently, and you can see here that when I do this, it says 5 seconds over here, and it doesn't matter how much I squish this up, it's still going to say 5 seconds. And if I extend it all the way to there and I come all the way to the end, it still says 5 seconds. But when it's spread out like this, you can see that it's measuring across time, and we measure video and film in terms of frames. So if you think about a frame as being an individual image, and what we're doing is we're looking at many images in a second. In this instance, we're looking at 30 frames per second, which is the normal kind of speed that you'd want for video. If you want a more cinematic look, you can take it down to 24 frames per second, because 24 frames was the traditional speed of a regular film camera. If you want to use slow motion, you are going to need a faster frame rate. Now everybody gets their minds blown by that. If you want something slower, you've got to have something faster. So in order to get that smooth motion, you have to have many more frames per second. So for you guys, I'm thinking 60 frames per second if you're using slow-mo and you want to keep it smooth. If you're making a TikTok or something like that, you don't need to worry too much, okay? Something that's on a handheld device where people are flicking through quite quickly, I wouldn't worry too much about extreme slow-mo. But if you're designing something for a big public screen, then you need that quality, okay? So you need to make that decision fairly early on, which is why it's a good idea to plan your work, build a storyboard, know exactly what it is that you're going to be doing before you start this process of making your videos. Okay, I'm just going to slide this back down again because it's a bit hard to handle. I'm going to go with that. So now you can see I'm kind of measuring every 10 frames. 10 frames, 20 frames, 30 frames. So you can see at 30 frames, it gives me 1 second of time. All right. So 30 frames equals 1 second. So hopefully that gets your head in the game. People think that, you know, oh, I've got 30 frames. That must keep me going for at least 3 hours. It doesn't. It's literally 1 second of video. So all the clips that I'm going to be using, I've just taken from Adobe stock. You can source your videos from anywhere as long as it's legitimate and you either have permission or you reference them properly. This is just an exercise, so please don't get too bogged down with where things are coming from. I'm just using previews straight from Adobe stock. And I would do this if I was building something and I wasn't too sure whether or not I was going to use a clip. I'm not going to pay to license something if later on I'm going to reject it. So it would only be at the point where everybody was happy with the finished video, and then I would switch out all the previews for licensed product. At that point, the watermarks that you're going to see on these videos disappear, okay, because you've paid for the use of that video. So I've already downloaded some videos straight from Adobe stock. So let's go and have a little look at what we've got. Now I'm going to create a little kind of hair care type video. So I'm going to have lots of different clips. So let's see what we've got. Now I'm going to place these, I'm using place embedded, and I'm going to go to, just need to go to my desktop. I have an Adobe stock folder, and you can see here it says Adobe stock movies, and this is where I've put all my movies, and you can see they're all called, they've got their name, and then it says preview, so I can tell the difference between something that I've licensed and something that I've just downloaded the preview of. So I'm just going to pop through these until I find the images that I want. I quite like that. I think I'm going to go with studio kind of backgrounds for my images. Quite like that one as well. If you want to see something, you can just play it back like this. She looks nice. I like her hair. She looks great. So I might use that one. So I'm just going to go through and choose the images. She looks a little bit sad and wistful. I want people to look happy in my video. So there you go, a bit of a smile. She still doesn't look terrific. I love that, but if I was going to use this with this bright yellow background, I want other coloured backgrounds as well. Actually, I think that's great. I'll see if I can find two others that look like that. Oh, here we go. I want it to be as much fun as the other girl. I don't think that's going to be the one for me. Let's have a little look. Ah, that's a bit closer. This might be better. She's a bit more demure. I could just say there's different characters. Not sure. Another yellow background. Let's have a little look at this. Yeah, there's lots of movement in that. Yeah, I think I might have that one as well. So I'll take these two for now. So I'm going to just place this on my my document. Now you can see here it's coming a little bit on the small side, and I'm going to just drop it down here and extend this up so it's the right height. And I'll pop that so she's kind of in the middle. I might just make it a tiny bit taller. Okay, and I've dropped that. Now you can see that this video now runs on. It's a 19-second clip. That's much longer than I need, and I don't know the bit that I want. I kind of liked it when she started bouncing her hair around, so I can preview this. Now it runs slowly at first because it needs to be rendered. Now I want my video to be about, I think this video will make it about 15 seconds. I kind of like this. I like the eyes. So I'm going to chop the beginning of this video off, and all I need to do with this is I position my cursor here. Now this is called the playhead, where this red bar is and this blue marker. That's the playhead. So if I wanted to split this clip, so if I move this back to the point where she starts really moving her hair around to about here, I can use the scissors to split the video at the playhead like this. Now it's actually put it into two separate layers. Can you see over here on the layers panel, it's split this, but I'm going to get rid of this part like this. So I'm now just down to this, and then I can move this back So now the video will start playing. Now if I want to get that back, the video hasn't gone anywhere. It's completely non-destructive, so I can pull that video back. So if I move this forwards and I want to bring that video back, it's all still there, okay? So I'm not breaking anything. It's not like I have to re-import. So I want this to end at around 15 seconds. So if I bring this down to about here, okay. Now I could think, well, I don't want her on screen for all that time because it's a little bit dull. So let's just see what happens. It's like, so I'm going to decide which bit of this video I like. I like it when she looks up. So I'm going to just pull the playhead back and I'm going to look for just before that spot. So she's looking into the camera. I like that. That's a good place to start. So I'm just going to pull this to here and roll that back to there. I quite like this where she looks off to one side. That's 2 seconds of video plus 10 frames. Is 3 seconds going to be too much? I think I might go to three seconds. So that's exactly 3 seconds. So I'm just going to split that like so, and I'm going to remove that bit there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to position my cursor at the, or my playhead at the end of this section, and I'm going to grab another video. So I'm going to go place embedded, go back to my videos. There's that other one on the yellow background. So I'm going to place this. Again, I'm going to, I might have to put a different colour in between them. I think 2 yellow backgrounds on the bounce might be a bit much. It's a funny jump there, so I'm going to get rid of that bit at the beginning. I'm just squishing this up again. And then I decide which bit I like. Quite long. I like her when she's smiling. Okay, so the first video is 3 seconds, so I'm going to look for my favourite 3 seconds of this. I think it might be maybe where she lifts her hair. So I'm going to go from here. And then I'm going to put my playhead at the 6 second mark, like so, and split, and then I can delete that. Now, if I wanted to, I could put these in the same group. Now, to do that, you can see at the moment they're on their own little timelines, but if I pull this down, like so, you can see this has now formed a video group. So It plays in just the same way. So let's see, obviously it's going to run a little slow. Okay, or I could have a transition, so I could have a fade, crossfade. Okay, I'm all right with that. So it should run on to 6 seconds, and it does. So then I can just push my timeline down like this, and then I'm going to find another clip. So I choose place embedded, and again I'm looking for something on a coloured background. Now you notice I don't really mind too much if they're portrait or landscape, because I'm cropping it anyway, as long as I've got the information that I want in the middle of the screen. I wonder what this one looks like. Not sure about that one. That's not in keeping with the other videos. It's kind of, it looks a little bit AI to me, so I'm just going to keep going. About this one. No, it doesn't look fun enough. Now this green in actual fact is for chroma keying, so I could drop the background off that if I wanted to, although I wouldn't want to do that in Photoshop. And she doesn't look like she's having the best time. I think maybe I will go with this one. Yeah, I think I'll use that one. I know, I quite like that. There's a lot of movement. I'm going to take this one. And again, I'm going to scale it up. So it fits the screen. Click the tick. And again, I can drag this down. If I drag it down onto the same line as this, it will pop it inside this video group, like so. And again, I'm going to look for 3 seconds that I really like. Find this bit at the beginning a little bit dull because she's not doing much. I like this face, so let's just so I want to take this to 9 seconds. So it's going to be chopped off around here somewhere. So let's just run it on. I like when she turns right round, so I think I'm going to go from here. Oh, that's better when she turns round there. I like that face. So that's at 7 seconds. That's 8 seconds and 9 seconds. So if I put my playhead here, just check that I'm not going to cut it in the wrong spot, and then cut that, and then I can watch this through. I think I might switch them round and put the pink one in the middle, so I've got a yellow at each side. So I'm just going to move this up so it's in its own group, so I can just slide it round. I'm just pushing this down. Better if I shrink it down a bit. I'm going to remove this transition as well. I'll redo that in a sec. That's a little bit long. There we are. So it's now the same length. So I can slide this up here. So it's really easy. You can just slide things around. There we go. And then I can put my crossfades in if I want them. Like so. And then play it again. Okay, so if I'm happy with that, it's just three clips with a little crossfade. I don't really need this layer in the background, so I could actually delete it. It will help keep the file sizes in check. I can rename these if I want to, so I could find them easily. But I'm not going to do that because even though I've placed these embedded, I have found that when you are dealing with preview videos, if you do anything, if you change anything, it's actually made a link rather than an embedded video. It'll embed the video if you have purchased, but at this stage I'm not going to change the names simply and solely because I need to be able to access what this video is called. So I need to know what this number is. So if I break the link, I can go and find it again easily. Okay, so what do we do now once we've got our video edited? So I've got 9 seconds of video. It's far from a masterpiece, but it kind of shows you the general gist of what we're doing. And of course you can add effects and things if you wanted to. I'm just going to show you that before we go any further. So I'm just going to come back to this video here, and it might be that we start this video and then we get to a point and you want to add a transformation. You might want to do something to the actual video. So you might want to transform it in some way, like rotate it perhaps, or scale it down, make it smaller, move it, push it off the screen. You could do all those things, or you might want to change the opacity. It might have started very translucent and you want to make it more opaque, you can control all those things. Or you might want to add a style. Now I'm going to show you this on something different. So I'm going to add a little bit of text at the end of this video. So I'm going to add a text layer. I'm going to just drag out a box and type in for hair. Hardly imaginative, but there we go. So I've just typed in the words for hair. It's currently white text, and I'm going to actually put it outside of the video group because it doesn't really belong. I'm going to push it so it overlaps. So now you can see that text, and you can control how the text looks just like you would on any image. I'm using Adobe fonts. So I only want to look at Adobe fonts, so I've got absolute control over those. And I'm going to go for something sans serif, so I'm going to just choose sans serif fonts. I think maybe this Halliard, maybe a bit heavier. I think Helvetica New, Helvetica Light, Helvetica, here we go, Helvetica Bold. And I'm just going to make it a bit bigger. I'm also going to make it all caps. So I just need my panels, type panels. Here we go. So I'm going to make it all caps, not bold. There we are. And I want to, let's just see if I've got something a bit heavier than that. There we go. I'm going to go with something like this, and I'm going to make it much bigger. There we are. And I'm going to pop it here because it's going over this black garment. Like so. Make that a bit smaller. Right, okay, so I've got this, and then if I open this up, I've got all the same controls that I had down here. So I've got transform, opacity, style. I've also got something called text warp because it is text. So I can warp that text. So if I go to my type menu, I should find, there we are, warp text. Okay, so everything that I can apply here on a still image, I can do down here. But to use it properly, I have to click this little stopwatch where I want it to start. So at this point, my text is going to look like this. And then if I move this to here, by the time it reaches this point, okay, it's going to have warped. So I go to type and warp text, and I'm going to make it arch upwards like that. Why I'd want to do that is anybody's guess, but you can see now that my type bends upwards. it might be I want it to bend up and then I could fade in a pack shot underneath it, for example. So you can have a little play around with that. And at this point, I'm going to need a background of some description. So a black background would probably come in handy there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to position my cursor around here somewhere. I'm going to add a new layer. And I'm going to click OK. I'm going to push this all the way to the bottom because you can see at the moment it's floating on the top, but not before I've painted it black. I'm just going to actually sample, not an absolute black, like so. And then I'm going to take, so I'm going to call this one black background, and I'm going to just push this to the bottom so you can see I can control where that goes. Oops, I need to do that. Don't know why it keeps wanting to put it all the way back there. That's quite annoying. I think it might be because, let me just close that up. Close this. There we are. There we are. So everything's in the right order. I just need to push this along to this point here. There we are. So it's just a little bit of jiggery pokery. Oh, except that's outside of the group again, isn't it? So I just want to push that up like that, and then that starts on top of there, and then I can fade out my image. So I'm going to use a fade like so, so it kind of fades to black like that, and then my text arcs up. Okay, so you can control things from within the timeline like so. These are called keyframes, by the way. So you add those keyframes, and then what happens in between is called tweening, and the software basically decides, if you say this is what it looks like at the start, this is what it looks like at the end, and then the software will make up the bits in the middle. Okay, so that's going to be as much as I'm going to do. I'm just slightly over the 9 seconds mark, which is fine, and I'm just going to go to File, and I'm going to export my video. So we go to Export, and then at the bottom here we choose Render Video. So I'm going to give it a name. It's going to render it out as an MP4, which is just right. It's just what we want. I'm going to call it Hair Video. Hair Video 1, because I might make several. And I'm going to use this format, H.264. This is a very high quality. You can see it says high quality. And I'm not going to change anything else there, I don't think. So I'm just going to click Render, and it will take a few minutes to render my 9-second video. I tell you what I didn't do, I didn't take any notice of where it was saving this, so I'm just going to wait for it to do that, and then I'll show you what the video will look like. Now, at the very beginning of this video, when I started this, I made the video, if you remember, 1442 pixels by 2210 pixels, and I did that for a very specific reason. I have, I'm just going to make a new document. I'm not going to pay too much attention to the size. I've got my video timeline already set up because that's now set, but I'm going to use this image. This is another Photoshop template document. It's a still image of 3 billboards on an underground train station. So I'm just going to double click this, and it's opened this up, and this is a template document. Now, in the next video, I'm going to show you how you can place the videos that you've made in Photoshop into a still image in Photoshop and create another video, a video, if you like, inside a video. So that's on the next movie.